We're joined from Toronto by Kamran Bokhari. He's a fellow with the program on extremism at George Washington University. He's also senior lecturer with the Security and Policy Institute at the University of Ottawa. Kamran, great to see you. Talk to us after this agreement was banged out in Munich less than a week ago. You were not optimistic. You said it wasn't significant, that there were imperatives on all sides to continue the fighting. So we're certainly witnessing that, aren't we?
Indeed. I mean, if you notice that all the stakeholders have their particular objectives that they need to pursue, and whether that's the Saudis or the Turks or the Americans or the Russians, and even the non-state actors within the country of Syria. So this is going to be very chaotic for quite some time to come, Mike.
Kamran, why target hospitals and schools? I mean, we've seen this before, not just in Syria, also in Afghanistan. In that case, it was U.S. airstrikes in November of 2015. So what's going on? Why hospitals as targets?
Well, there are two things here. One is that it could be intelligence-based. The Russians may have had intelligence from their Syrian counterparts that there are, terrorists or rebel groups seeking refuge in that area. It's not really clear to me. I'm speculating over here. But we do know that the rules of engagement for the Russians and their Syrian allies are far lax than what the United States and its Western allies are used to.
You said when we last spoke to keep your eye on Turkey. Turkey with some strong words for Russia and also saying that they would go after the Kurds. What do you read into this, and what are your thoughts about Turkey?
I think Turkey has an imperative to try and manage the chaos that is growing on its border with Syria. But Turkey has a problem. Before it can deal with ISIS, before it can deal with the Assad regime, before it can deal with even the Russians, it has to deal with Syrian Kurds who are an extension, or at least the Turks feel that they are an extension of their own Kurdish rebels. So I think that's a red line, and that's going to preoccupy Ankar's mind for some time to come and prevent it from playing that lead role that the United States is expecting of Turkey.
What are your thoughts about what Assad had to say today?
I think he is basically speaking like anybody would in his position, where his forces have regained the momentum thanks to the Russians and, of course, the Iranians. And so he's speaking with confidence. Note that the tone is pretty defiant, pretty much along the same lines as Dmitry Medvedev, the Prime Minister of Russia, in his interview with Time magazine today. And so that is to be expected. We wouldn't see this kind of confidence if his forces were taking a beating on the battlefield.
So how does all of this muddle the international effort? How does it impact this ceasefire that's supposed to go into effect in just a few days?
As I said a few days ago on your show, Mike, I don't expect this ceasefire to last long, assuming it actually goes through, given the situation since the agreement was announced back on the 11th. But even if it does, need for all parties to continue the fighting, and therefore the war will go on for quite some time to come.
And you think as we get closer to this ceasefire that there'll be even more jockeying for position, people trying to regain their strategic position, perhaps the Russians and the Syrian forces trying to gain even more ground?
Absolutely. I think the Russians and the Syrians will continue to push as far as they can. They haven't quite gotten Aleppo yet, but that would be their first order of business, to try and gain as much territory in the Aleppo area and then move further eastwards. Conversely, the rebels, backed by their patrons, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, they will try to hit back and regain their position. But I think that in the case of the rebels, it's going to be very, very difficult to do that, considering the correlation of forces.
Kamran Bokhari joining us from Toronto. Thanks so much.